Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Final Take. I'm Nathan Hansen, and joining me today are Chris Watkins and Ben Zatuni. Guys, are you guys ready for the semester?
Question is the semester ready for me?
That's a response I like to hear.
I'm definitely ready, and especially ready for Sunday.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be a busy semester for me, but I think we'll be all right. Well, tonight we discuss the latest in Pointer athletics, along with college basketball, the NBA, and of course, a Super Bowl preview. Well, we begin tonight with the Pointers men's basketball team. After a tough start to the conference season, the Pointers have railed off 3 straight wins to improve to 11-8 overall and 4-4 in the WIAC conference. In their last game, they defeated the Oshkosh Titans 55-42, holding the Titans to just 27% shooting. Stephen Pelkoffer led the Pointers with a game-high 23 points. On the season, the Pointers led the WIAC in scoring defense, allowing just 60 points a game. What has been the key to the Pointers' recent winning streak, guys? Ben, we'll start with you.
I think they're finally learning how to play together. Go back to last year. How many seniors did they lose? 4 or 5?
And they were all four starters.
They come in the beginning of this year. They had a lot of younger players who didn't really play that much last year, and a good group of freshmen that came in. And I think them going out to Arizona for that tournament over winter break helped them play together as a team. And the younger players are finally learning how to play in Coach Semling's system.
I agree a lot with Ben. The team is really gelling. They're finally meshing. And you see they're finding different ways to win pretty much every game. The lacrosse game, they were 16 for 22 from the foul line. From Stout, they were 50% from 3. And Stout was like 1 of 10 in opposition. So that helped make a big difference. And then this last game against Oshkosh, over the last 8 minutes or so, the Pointers outscored them 20-7. And of course, Stephen Pelkoffer, the Pell Raiser, he led the way and showed that leadership that he's asked upon to do night in, night out. So he's really leading those guys, and they're really coming along together and making a push at the right time.
Yeah, I think the big part is just all these guys getting to play with each other, like you talked about, Ben, and you said too, Chris, that those guys haven't played together a lot with each other. And, they brought in 2 or 3 freshmen that are playing big minutes and a transfer that's playing big minutes. And guys that are stepping up that didn't get the chance to step up last year, like Brad Freeborn.
Yeah.
I like to call him Threeborn. He provides energy and makes some shots himself. And Zach Adke, who's playing a bigger role this season. I think moving forward, they're right where they want to be, relying on their defense, and that's been their strong suit all year. Well, how do you see the Pointers in big home games this weekend against Whitewater and River Falls?
I think it's going to be tough, but I see them splitting the 2 games this week. I don't think they're going to beat Whitewater, but I think it's going to be a close game, and then I think they'll beat River Falls pretty handedly on Saturday.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think they'll actually win both games because I think they're catching each team right at the perfect time. Whitewater's lost 3 in a row. They've allowed 72 points in that span on the road. And 5 of their last 6, they've allowed about 71. So they're giving up points at a premium right now. And for River Falls, their main player, John Christensen, only had 9 points and 6 rebounds last time he played the Pointers. So if they can keep doing what they're doing and limit the star players in each game, and for Whitewater to get over that 70, 71 point mark, I think they'll be good.
I think you guys are pretty close. I think they'll beat Whitewater. I think they'll be ready for it. I mean, the Quan's always rocking when it's against Whitewater, but I think they'll be a little too high off that, and they'll kind of come down against River Falls, and I think they'll be a reality check, and I think they'll lose that one, but it might help them going forward. Well, the Pointers host Whitewater on Wednesday night before hosting River Falls on Saturday, in a game that will be covered by SPTV. Now moving on to Pointers women's basketball. The 15th ranked Pointers entered the weekend tied for first in the WIAC with Oshkosh and River Falls. The Pointers then hosted Oshkosh, where they fell to the 10th ranked Titans, 61-59. Ellie Maselli led the Pointers with 13 points and 7 rebounds, while Lauren Anklem chipped in 11. The Pointers also have 2 road games against 2 ranked teams in Whitewater and River Falls. How important are these games in the conference?
I'm going to say these 2 games are the start of many important games in the WIAC. I think, like you said before, that Oshkosh and River Falls are the top teams in the women's side of the conference, and I think that if the Pointers want to show the conference and the nation that they're for real this year, they're going to have to beat these teams, beat the important teams.
That's true.
Yeah, I agree also. It's really go time as far as the season for the Lady Pointers. They beat River Falls and Whitewater earlier this season, but as they say, one time could be a fluke, twice could be a trend, so they have to do it again if they really want that I guess, that status as, one of the teams to be reckoned with in the conference.
Yeah, this is a really tough stretch for them. I mean, 3 ranked teams in a row coming off the Oshkosh game. That was close one that they almost pulled out, and if they can't win the next 2 games, that might put them close to the bottom of the conference, and that's definitely not where you want to be. Well, the Pointers take on the Warhawks on Wednesday, and then the Falcons on Saturday. The 5th-ranked men's hockey team swept a home-and-home series with Lake Forest last weekend to improve to 15-4-1. The team capped off a 9-2 win over the Foresters on Sunday on Checked Cancer Night, where the Pointers scored 6 goals in the second period, and Kyle Sharkey recorded his first career hat trick. This week, the Pointers play 3 games with conference games at Stout and Superior, wrapped around home game against top-ranked Adrian. The Pointers led Adrian 2-1 late in the third period before Adrian scored 2 late goals to win in their first meeting of the season. How can the Pointers knock off the number 1 team in the country?
I think one simple thing that you always hear, I think the Pointers have to feed off the home atmosphere, feed off the home crowd. You and I were at the game on Saturday, and that place was rocking. I think that the Pointers have to keep playing well defensively, and that starts in between the pipes with their goalie. I think both goalies, either Milosik or Gordichuk, either one that would play this season, they've done pretty well, and and the Pointers on the offensive end have been able to score too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tempo, if you're the Pointers, especially at home, averaging a little more than 5 goals since the new year. So I would just say keep the tempo up. Don't really change much because you've had Adrian on the ropes before Trevor Boyd, I believe it was, scored those 2 goals in the third period. So just go out there, play your game, and at the end of the third period or overtime, let's see where we are.
Yeah, I think it's really just about how they respond because obviously Adrian's a team that's not going to come in here and just back down or just run with their tail between their legs. I think the Pointers are going to have to respond to a few things, whether it's an early goal or the Pointers are going to have to score an early goal and then maintain that throughout the game. So I think that's going to be their tough test. I think their toughest test in that game is themselves.
Yeah. I also think that they're going to have to make sure to focus at the 2 games ahead with Stout and Superior. I'm sure the team is looking forward to play the number 1 ranked team in the country at home, but you have to take care of those first 2 games first.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep your mind on the game ahead of you. Well, the puck drops on that one at 7 p.m. Friday at Willett when the Pointers host the Bulldogs. The Pointers women's hockey team picked up their 10th 1-goal win in the season by defeating Eau Claire 3-2. Rachel Renard tallied a goal and 2 assists in the win. How are the Pointers so successful in these close games?
I just think that once they get the lead, they're coached well enough on the defensive end of the ice to hold the lead, and they've gotten solid goaltending so far this season.
And also, what I've noticed, they have a lot of people who can make plays when it's crunch time. They have like 6 different players that have double figures in scoring, or points rather. So when you have a multitude of options that you can go to whenever you need, a big play or something like that, it's always good to have 5, 6 of those people.
Absolutely. And I think last year they were in a lot of those close games too, but they were kind of on the losing side of more of them. And I think just that experience coming to this year, I know Coach Endon is a great coach, and she's working those girls, and they're working hard, and it's paying off for them. Well, the Pointers return to the ice on Saturday afternoon at Ice Hawks Arena when they host the Blue Golds. We'll take a short commercial break, but when we return, we'll discuss Wisconsin Badgers basketball, more college hoops, and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Busy student life? No problem. You can catch Final Take on the go in HD by following us on our website. Final Take, for anything Pointers, anything sports. Got an itch to be on air? Join the SPTV News crew. Being an on and off-air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SPTV News, pointing to you.
My name is Jackie Lang. I graduated from UW Stevens Point in 2013. I started off coming to general members meetings, showing up for the shows. From the first show that I was a part of, I just absolutely loved it. Now that I've graduated, I currently work at WFRV TV, which is Channel 5, the CBS affiliate in Green Bay. I also freelance for Lashbro Visual Communications. All of my experience, all of my knowledge came from SPTV, and I will forever be grateful to this organization for that.
Welcome back. The Wisconsin Badgers men's basketball team picked up its 4th win in a row on Sunday night when they defeated Illinois 63-55. Nigel Hayes led the Badgers with 17 points. Ethan Happ also had 6 points and 9 rebounds. He was named the Big Ten Freshman of the Week for a 3rd consecutive week. Can the Badgers continue this run as they hit the midway part of the conference season, Ben?
I think they can, but it's definitely going to be tough. I believe they have Maryland at home. Again, a couple other tough conference opponents at home, but they've been able to continue their winning ways at home under Greg Gard, and I think the fact that they have a lot of freshmen chipping in, Ethan Happ and Khalil Iverson, newcomers that wouldn't really see that much playing time under Bo Ryan, they've been able to shine.
That's true.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Ben. I just think that last part of the schedule, like Ben said, Maryland, at Michigan State, at Iowa, 3 of your last 4 or 5 games, for a team that's fighting to get in the tournament and really, just to establish themselves as not a bubble team, but actually one of those 65 or 68 rather that are in, it's going to be a bit tough when we have that schedule at the end.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Big Ten, every year they've been good, and I think especially this year, and you've got Iowa as a top 5 team in the nation, you got Michigan State who's up there, you got Maryland who's up there, and it seems like and Indiana's even had a great season this year as well. So I think the Badgers really are a bubble team right now, and we're not used to that at all. So we'll see if they can turn around. I'm not sure if they can, because honestly, that season's tough. I think they'll make the tournament, probably get a low seed, maybe knock off a team in the first round, but I don't think they advance any farther than the second round. Well, around the rest of the country, ranked teams are being upset almost every week, every night it seems like almost. So what does this say about college basketball, the state of college basketball?
I don't really know if it says anything specific about it. I just think it shows that any given night, any team can win and any team can lose, and rankings are just a number.
Yeah, I think that and the injuries, I think, are more magnified this year than in seasons past. You look at how Michigan State lost when Denzel Valentine was out. Look at Duke on their recent side without Emil Jefferson, who's not a star player by any means, but one of their key cogs, especially for big men. So you look at teams like that and examples like that, and it's just like everybody has to be ready to go on any given night or else you will be beaten.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to that, Duke is unranked, and the Heels, I think they're top 10 in that, so got that going for them. But I don't know, this might be good for my brackets, guys, because usually there's been a couple teams that have kind of rode those guys, and hasn't worked out great for me. Maybe this will be the change. Otherwise this could be worse for my bracket somehow.
I think we should just all stick to looking at our 2015 brackets because Duke were the national champions.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that this year. Well, continuing with basketball, we head to the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks fell to 20-30 on the season after a 111-104 loss to the Sacramento Kings last night. Guys, why is the defense struggling so much this season?
I think the fact that it's a young team, none of these players have really played together that often. They lost Zaza Pachulia and Jared Bayless in the offseason, which I think hurt them a lot in both the locker room aspect and the leadership aspect on the court. And they're just a young team who hasn't played that much together, and they're still trying to figure out how each other plays on the floor.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the Bucks. I watched almost every game this season. They won 15 games, so that was a tough one. But I'm sick of people using youth as an excuse for playing poorly. These are guys, granted they're young, but this is the NBA. Right. They should be playing well. And every night it seems like you just don't know what you get from this team. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, they're super inconsistent, and I think that is part youth, but also, they've lost 9 games since January, and they've given up in those losses about 109 points per game. Some of the teams, it's just no excuse. Like Orlando, some of these teams, if you're the Bucks, you should be beating, and until they beat the team that they're, I guess supposed to beat per se, they're not going to really be much in the playoff picture. So.
Absolutely, and the Kings didn't even add DeMarcus Cousins last night.
Like Chris said, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. They beat teams like the Warriors, the Cavaliers. Teams are at the top of the NBA, and then they go and lose to teams like Orlando and Sacramento, teams that they really should be beating.
Yeah. Maybe they'll turn around. We'll see. Well, we'll take a short commercial break, but when we return, we'll talk about the big game on Sunday, the Super Bowl.
I'm Curtis Brown, this is Adam Yurkovsky and Justin Pomplin. If you enjoy our Final Take show, make sure you tune in every week to stay up to date on Stevens Point Sports. Remember, Pointers, anything sports.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Not really sure what student media means, you should stop by our studios. We are looking forward to having you involved this year, and we cannot wait to make media with you.
Well, before we talk about the most important Sunday in the NFL season, I think we'll talk about probably the least important Sunday in the NFL season, which was the Pro Bowl. Did you watch it, Ben?
I did, but I don't know. I was kind of doing homework at the same time. I just had the Pro Bowl on as a little background noise.
Yeah.
I watched it. I like the uniforms.
They went a little traditional with them this time. They didn't go over the top. I think that's pretty cool. But, I mean, I think eventually that game's going to be gone because that is so meaningless. And half the guys that get elected into the Pro Bowl don't even play.
At the end you see Michael Bennett taking snaps, Travis Frederick taking snaps, and they're not even trying to tackle each other. I mean, I know teams are worried about injuries, but you at least tackle somebody. Come on.
It's not a lot of fun. But I tell you what, this game will be fun on Sunday. The Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos meet in Super Bowl 50 at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Well, Chris, I think it's been known on the show that you are a Panthers fan. I think it's been known on the show that we are not Panthers fans. So, Ben, we'll start with you. Talk a little bit about the Broncos. We'll start from that point of view.
Well, they've been hot and cold offensively, but I think one thing that everybody knows is that Denver has a pretty good defense, and I think the keys for the game is that they have to contain Cam, make sure he doesn't get out and run, because once he starts running, that's really what gets the Carolina offense going, and then the O-line needs to protect Peyton. I mean, it's no secret that Carolina has I think they have an underrated D-line, and Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis, it looks like he's going to play even though with the broken arm. But that front seven for Carolina is dangerous, and if Denver wants a shot of winning, they're going to have to keep Peyton upright during the game.
Yeah, that's true. Chris, give me a little bit about Denver, what you're worried about.
Denver, what scares me about Denver is, of course, Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. That pass rush last week 2 weeks ago now, against New England was just incredible. And I don't think any quarterback, Cam or otherwise, will be able to stand up against that if they're rushing to that degree. So, the Panthers' offensive line, which is also an underrated unit, I think, to a degree, that is paramount, stopping those two. 58 and 94, you have to.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the most important parts that people are kind of overlooking in this game, I think, is going to be the Denver running game. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been on and off all year. When it's been off, it hasn't been great at all. When it's been on, they've looked almost unstoppable with the passing game mixed in there too. And I think that's going to be key because Carolina has stopped running the running game all year, basically, for the most part. And when the Broncos have to go one-dimensional with a 39-year-old Peyton Manning behind there trying to throw passes, they're not going to win a whole lot of games doing that, and they're not going to win a whole lot of games against this defense like that.
I think a couple keys for Carolina is that if Carolina gets out to a substantial lead, that they can't blow that lead. I mean, Denver, their offense isn't that great, but you still have Peyton Manning at quarterback, and you never know what he can do. And I think that Cam Newton needs to play smart, not try to force any passes in. And, I mean, that Denver secondary is pretty great this season.
I think it'll be a big defensive struggle from multiple standpoints. I think this game has the potential for Carolina to jump out to huge leads like they have against Seattle and Arizona, but I also think that has potential for it to go right down to the wire just because of both those defenses and their ability to put pressure on the quarterback and stop the running.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can see possibly any sort of outcome besides a Denver blowout, I think. But with that being said, I'm kind of iffy about this point spread. Panthers has 6. I love them dearly, but that's Peyton Manning back there. And like you said, the running game is so important because if CJ and Ronnie Hillman, those guys, if they get going, now Peyton has something to work with. He can probably go to Owen Downs over the middle or utilize Demaryius Thomas or try to exploit like a Robert McClain or a Cortland Finnegan like Carson Palmer tried to do back in the NFC Championship game. So it can go a lot of different ways, but I think if the Panthers get up early, I don't think they'll have the same problems that they had with like Seattle or Green Bay even in the regular season in Indy. And those were a lot of great quarterbacks that were doing that to them. And I don't think Peyton at this stage will be able to shoulder that load one more time.
Yeah, that's true. But I think one of the main keys for Carolina, their weakness, I think, from a defensive standpoint, if they had weakness, would be their slot defense and their coverage in the slot.
Absolutely.
With Ben Wickery injured throughout the year and tore his ACL in the middle part of the year. And I think teams have really picked upon whoever is playing out there in his position. And for the Broncos, that's a good sign because they got Demaryius Thomas out there. They got Emmanuel Sanders out there. They got guys that can really blow by out there. They can throw some quick screens out there, or they can run down the field by us. So I think
it's going to be interesting to see how Emmanuel Sanders and Andre Caldwell, their two slot receivers, play. And then I'm looking forward to seeing how Josh Norman handles Demaryius Thomas, best receiver against best corner. That's going to be an interesting matchup throughout the game.
For sure.
Going to be a good one. I can't wait.
Ben, we'll start with you. Predictions.
I think I'm going to go Carolina over Denver 31-25.
I made it this far. I said we'd win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year just because all my other teams had won this past year. Panthers 27, Denver Broncos 17.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I've been a doubter of the Carolina Panthers all year, amongst a lot of other people out there for sure. And I think I got to go with the Broncos. I think they're going to win this one 24-20. And I'm going to be wearing my Steve Smith Carolina Panthers jersey in hope of a jinx.
Nate, you're killing me.
We'll see how that goes. And do you think this will be Peyton Manning's last game, no matter what?
Man, that's so hard to tell, but I think it is. I think you saw how beat up he was this year, and he's a smart guy. He obviously wants to be around later in life so he can see his kids grow up, and I think he'll play it smart and retire after this game, no matter the outcome.
Unfortunately, I think it will be Peyton's last game also. It's been a treat watching him for the better part of 2 decades now, but I just don't know how it'll hold up after, potentially in the 2016, he'll be 40 in a few weeks. So I think this could be it for him, especially if they win.
Yeah, I think the sheriff's got to hang it up. I mean, it's been so long.
I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers how Brett Favre went out with Minnesota, playing terrible that second season with Minnesota, and he obviously stayed a little bit past his prime, and you'd hate to see something like that happen to Peyton.
Yeah, it's not a good look for anyone. Well, one other thing that's going to be key is Cam Newton, and we've talked about his antics on the field, off the field throughout the season. If the Panthers win, do you think he'll stop being criticized?
No, I won't. I think the fact that if the Panthers win the Super Bowl, that's only going to cause Cam to do more of his antics, which is only going to fuel the fire.
I made Cam Newton a deal. I told him if he wins the Super Bowl for all of Panther Nation, he is going to get a letter, so he might feel some type of way about it. But it's a good thing. It'll come from me. And it'll be appreciation for what he's done for the franchise. So I think if he wins, I think to a degree it will be kind of mitigated, those criticisms about him.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it all year, and I think at the end of the day, the dab, no one's going to remember the dab in about 2 years anyway. So it won't really matter. But that energy he plays with, I think, is something that's never going to stop.
Right.
And we've seen it throughout his whole career. Well, the one last thing about the Super Bowl is the commercials everybody talks about. Are you guys looking forward to them?
Yeah, I am. The commercials were kind of a letdown this year, but judging by the halftime act that NFL has scheduled, hopefully the commercials are better than the halftime show.
Not a Coldplay fan. Huh?
No, I'm not. I'm looking for Doritos to come through big this year with the commercials.
Honestly, if I can get out of the Super Bowl without a heart attack or some sort of stress, that's all I want. And the Panthers win. Between the commercials, I probably won't even notice them.
Yeah, it seemed like last year the commercials were so sad. So we'll see if this week can turn it around. Well, one last thing we didn't talk about yet that I think we want to talk about a little bit is the Milwaukee Brewers. They've made a lot of trades throughout the year, and throughout the year throughout this offseason they made a lot of trades, rather, with David Stearns coming in, 30-year-old guy, making a lot of moves. That team was not very good last year. And recently they traded away Gene Segura as well as a Tyler Wagner for Chase Anderson and a minor leaguer and Aaron Hill. Ben, what are your thoughts? Because I know you like the Brewers.
Yeah, man. I think the Brewers are going to kind of take the place of the Bucks as the low team on the Wisconsin sports totem pole for a couple seasons. But I guess with Chase Anderson, you have somebody you can stick at the front of the rotation. He did pretty well before his injuries last year. Aaron Hill, a veteran that can kind of keep the clubhouse together through the tough times. And that minor leaguer, Isan Diaz, I think his name is, from what I've seen, he looks to have a promising future. So if all these prospects the Brewers are getting can kind of play the way they're expected to play, I think their future's bright.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Just being a Seattle Mariners fan, I know personally that sometimes it has to get worse before it can get better.
Yeah.
So, it may take a couple of those 60 or 70 win seasons to get back on track, but if you have the talent that Ben was talking about, that young talent developing in the minors, possibly coming up soon, who knows where they can go in the future.
Yeah, I think one thing that's kind of overshadowed is that it seems to be bad, obviously, but maybe they won't be as bad as everyone thinks just because they don't have a lot of expectations this year coming up. They don't have a lot of older guys that are playing for contracts. They have a lot of younger guys that are trying to prove themselves and stay in the bigs, whereas this past year, they kind of had a lot of expectations because of the year before and how great they started and their big letdown. And I think that might actually help them up this upcoming year, and it's going to give a lot of guys a lot of opportunities for sure, and guys are going to get looked at. So
yeah,
there's a lot of opportunities out there.
It's important for the prospects if they get called up, even if it's for a week or two. Make that time count, because come the offseason, they're going to be looking for the future, and they might see something from the prospect to be like, he deserves an opening day spot.
Yeah, no doubt. And like talk about the Mariners, sometimes you got to lose a couple 70 loss, 80 loss seasons for you to sign a Robinson Cano. So
That's true.
Maybe something like that will be in the Brewers' future, but we'll see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for today. We thank everyone for tuning in with us. I'd like to thank Chris Watkins and Ben Zatuni for joining me on the debate desk today with their insightful opinions. And a big thanks to our technical staff and all their hard work to make this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television, or follow us on Twitter at UWSP_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointer Athletics information. And just remember, fellow Pointers, here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.
Be a part of something super Greek at UWSP. There are 9 chapters and colonies on campus: Phi Sigma Phi, Gamma Phi Delta, Theta Xi, Sigma Delta Rho, Sigma Tau Gamma, Delta Phi Epsilon, Tau Kappa Epsilon, Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, and Phi Omega. Greek life at UWSP is a great way to build your personal support system and resume. With Greek life at UWSP, you won't just be a member, but a happy friend to the chapters and colonies for life. See what opportunities Greek life could offer you.
Great opportunity to promote leadership, a great way to get connections, and also to build bonds between different groups.
You get the opportunity to grow yourself as a leader and as a person, both through your organization and connections through Inter-Greek Council and other avenues like that.
Greek life isn't what you see in the movies. I recommend checking out one of the recruitment events for the organizations and just seeing maybe you belong there.
Busy student life? No problem. You can catch Final Take on the go in HD by following us on our website. Final Take, for anything Pointers, anything sports.
Don't let the snow and cold get you down this winter. The frozen tundra outside may keep you indoors, but here at SPTV, we'll still be getting you the best news, sports coverage, and entertainment that you need. Don't freeze your fingers and toes off to find out what's happening around campus. Stay warm, everyone.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, we're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.